All creation in a point. It's inevitable. All will end. Millions of years from now, the sun will burn out and collapse. Every sun will, every world will go dark, and some of them will form voids. Black holes of condensed matter, the maw into which everything falls. If our star does not do this, in the end it will probably be consumed by one that did, and that will collide with another black hole, which in turn will be swallowed by the supermassive event at the centre of the galaxy. It's inevitable. But not really the end. A paradise awaits. Hi all, Rick here with another Index video, looking into the Edge of Eternities from Magic the Gathering, a series of audio books covering the lore of this science fiction fantasy setting that has really captured my imagination with its haunting concepts, especially the Monoist faction of gravity-wielding zealots. Lots of sci-fi for a traditionally fantasy card game. The Monoist faith formed around this understanding that at the supposed end of everything there will not be nothingness in the well of gravity, but in fact the next eternity, a paradise. When everything is finally compressed, that universe will emerge, replacing the current one, the next life. And when space-time is compressed so, all creation in a point, how could there not be paradise? All the matter in creation, everything there is, will eventually be in one point before it is all reborn into a new existence. So what else is there to do but hasten this approach? They believe that this all started with he who plummets, the faller, the first eaten by gravity, who did not die but instead learned of this inevitable hereafter. This doctrine is called the Theorem Unending and Final, and the Seeker in the Well. It's supported by codices such as the Hymn of the Immortal Fall. The Monoists' beliefs may be centred around the eventual end of all things, but a core tenet of their teachings is that choice, the freedom of will, is not to be opposed. Make your choices, offer a choice, live your life, but ultimately all will collapse into the void. Another tenet of their faith is inevitability. Probability and outcomes can be foreseen and even bent slightly, but never halted or avoided. After all, their paradise has already formed on the other side of singularities, and it waits for everything. It's not all done out of a sense of fatalism or despairing an end. It's a faith that at the end of it all lies the beginnings of a paradise, and that's a beautiful thing. The inevita. The ultimate expression of this belief is the black hole, the singularity representing the gateway to a new existence, and the Monoist creed demands that they hasten the creation of new supervoids. This includes the ritualistic sacrifice of their own into the event horizons of black holes. To be chosen to do this is a great honour, and you're taking a shortcut to the next eternity. Of course, throwing your enemies into them too, or sinking their ships into those same depths, is also a valid tactic of adding to the mass of the singularities. All their works are tethered to the point prime, the single supermassive void that they are focusing all towards, and the convergence of their faith. So this eventually brought them to the Edge, the Sothera system, where that star was on the verge of collapse. Now the Monoists have aided in its collapse, and it is in the process of becoming a full singularity. The Monoists' homeworld is a location known as Susa, which itself is located on the lip of Susa, the photon collar of their first supervoid, the point prime. Their base of operations in Sothera is Susa Secundi, a dark world closest to the Sothera supervoid. There are many subterranean warrens across the doomed world's surface, which erupt into towering forms built in the same architectural style as their armour and ships. Within the tunnels of this world are the grav pits, training grounds for combat for both practice in different environments and to hone the myriad of gravity-based technology they employ. Within the halls echo the chants of the Echo Singers, who recount the final entries of those sacrificed to the black holes, the holy texts of their doctrine, and other such venerations. As the faller seeks the dark peace of the well, I seek the dark peace within me. As light bends away from the core of all things, let my thoughts bend away from my being. As the supervoid stills the chaos universal, compact me to zero and let me be still. Inevitors are monoist vessels that never launch unless their arrival is guaranteed, and are equipped with a curious tool in their arsenal, the Charizard field. This is a strange event that can create a sort of slowed time effect around a designated area, and they utilise it in creative ways. For example, ramming a vessel into an enemy ship need not be instantly fatal when done at thousands of miles per second, if at the moment of impact the Charizard effect is activated. The field can only be sustained for a limited time, and the impact damage cannot be avoided, but it can be postponed until the field is dropped, at which point everything involved will suffer the effect of its cause, regardless of where it is now. If you are on that ship when it hit but left during the Charizard field, well, when it runs out, well, wherever you are, splat. Inevitability. Alongside these ships, there are the Caesarian dirge craft, grav ships, and entropic battle cruisers, all powered by Moxite reactors, the propellant being the more common fuel for interstellar travel. However, it's the Eternity-rated vessels that are truly the heart of spacefaring society. Eternity ships is a classification for any vessel bearing an Eternity drive, which allows for the bending of space-time through weft walking, which is basically warp drive. Compressing space-time to a point, then stepping across. Do this often enough in a line and you have a way of travelling faster than light. With the cost and effort of an Eternity drive, however, other factions, namely Pinnacle, offer a ferrying service for both passengers and smaller ships to dock and be carried on prescribed lanes. Nevertheless, the Monoists operate a few of these Eternity-class ships. Much of their technology revolves around gravity manipulation and can be detected by the telltale purple glow their tech emanates. When it comes to attire, the Monoists have a distinct and predictable preference of black. Robes and armour are coupled over lithe bodysuits, and all have these flowing coils wrapped around them. There are few hard lines and angles in their clothing, with most of it being smooth, dark curls, evoking gravitational pulls. Much of the powered systems integrated into their clothing, from vital monitoring systems to simple computing interfaces, are ergonomically integrated and emit a faint purple glow. This style extends beyond their clothing and into their architecture. Towering forms following the same design philosophy with their eerie blue, white and purple lights, adding to their profiles. Alabile is a material used in the creation of their armoured suits, and is a reactive material that works very well to harness their gravitational effects. Not only is the metal able to shift and react to impacts or damage, it appears to have some form of ability to directly alter outcomes of damage. In theory, it can mitigate or alter the outcome of an event, such as preventing an explosive round from detonating once embedded. However, in practice, it is not as overpowered as it sounds, as outcomes cannot be avoided, only postponed, and even if that is the case, there is still damage inflicted. Soldiers of the Monoist military often go into battle expecting Sakar. This is where the portable micro-singularity bead given to each soldier is released from its containment and creates a momentary crushing gravity well to be used as a sacrificial tool, weapon, or simply to ensure that in death you find your way into the gravitational end of all things. Needless to say, Sakar is feared by those who don't wish to spend their final moments being sucked into oblivion as collateral. Grav blades are a polearm and swords made from condensed beams of energy that emit powerful gravitational pulls in a localized and direct fashion. This means that they can actually drag their target towards them, ensuring the cut. Again, inevitability. Alongside this, they do employ their own form of mechanized robots, to operate in combat and to do chores. For the front lines, none are more feared than the void-forged titans, or gravblade-equipped hull carvers. While the bulk of Monoist culture is made up from humans, there are others in their organisations from other species. The governing body is the Monasteriat, which is an elected congress of over 100 monks of the faith. Among these are the native Caesarians from Susa, the foundational world. These are photonic beings, regarded as angels by some and vampires by others, depending on whose faction they're in. It was these Caesarians that created the Monoists' true faith, emerging from Susa and its supervoid. Each one's very presence emits a discernible gravitational pull, making them whole embodiments of the Monoist faith. Not all in the faith are militant practitioners. There are those who are simply believers, living their own lives beyond the rigours of confines of scripture and ritual. However, they are at war, and have been for some time, with their polar opposite faith, the adherents of the bright sun. I can possibly get into that faction in another time in a different index video, but for now it's enough to know that these Sumists oppose anything that detracts from the greater potential life in the universe and call it heresy. Something like deliberately collapsing stars into supervoids is going to rustle their jimmies. Thanks for watching this overview of the Monoist lore from Magic the Gathering. It's a bit of an out there one, but as always, the Index series is there to explore science fiction beyond just the scope of Star Trek and to give me a breather from the largest sci-fi setting out there. If you wanted a fun series to peruse, the whole audiobook drama is available on YouTube under Edge of Eternities, and other places, so it makes for a good listen, or read online if you don't mind the screens. Thanks again for watching. I've been Rick, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.